Imagine coming home after a long day. The noise of the neighbors, the smell of food coming from other apartments, the common routine of any ordinary building. But in one of those apartments, in the heart of Milwaukee, the routine was a facade. Behind door number 213, a reality so grotesque and unimaginable was unfolding that when it finally came to light, the entire world stopped to listen. This is not just the story of a killer. It is the story of the monster who looked like a man. And what if I told you that you could have passed him on the street and not even suspected a thing? Stay with me, because we're going to dive into the abyss that was the life and crimes of Jeffrey Dahmer. And before we continue, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our deep dives into the darkest cases of true crime. It all started so normally. Jeffrey Dahmer was a quiet young man, a bit awkward perhaps, but nothing that screamed danger. Born in 1960, his childhood was marked by a growing sense of isolation and dark fantasies that he kept under lock and key. While other boys dreamed of being firefighters or astronauts, Dahmer developed a morbid interest in dead creatures, which he dissected in the woods near his home. It was the precursor to a storm that was forming in silence. His first murder happened in 1978, a victim he met while hitchhiking. The act was brutal, impulsive, and after that, nothing. For years, the beast slept. Or did it just learn to be more patient? Dahmer enlisted in the army, was discharged, and tried to make a life. But the darkness inside him was a black hole, always demanding more. He moved to Milwaukee and in the early 1990s, rented what would become one of the most infamous apartments in the history of crime, number 213, in the Oxford building. On the outside, it was just another door. On the inside, it was a laboratory of horrors. Dahmer began to frequent bars and clubs, always seeking out young men, many of them marginalized, whose disappearance he calculated would not cause much of a stir. He lured them with promises of money or just a friendly ear. He was the perfect predator because he pretended to be a lonely prey. Once inside the apartment, the trap was sprung. He would offer a drugged drink, and then the nightmare would begin. Dahmer's crimes went far beyond murder. There was a compulsion to possess, to permanently retain the person. He committed acts of severe abuse on his unconscious victims. After death, he would meticulously dismember the bodies. He preserved parts, skulls, hands, genitals, as if they were trophies in a macabre collection. In some cases, he reached the ultimate extreme of human degradation, the practice of cannibalism. He confessed to keeping pieces of his victims' muscle in his freezer, consuming them later. The apartment transformed into an altar for his insanity, a private sanctuary of death. But what about the authorities? How could such a horrifying operation continue for so long? This is one of the most frustrating parts of the story. Dahmer's luck seemed endless. In May 1991, 2 police officers responded to a call at the building. A 14-year-old boy, Konarak Sainthatsanphone, was there, disoriented and naked. Dahmer, with terrifying calm, convinced the officers that it was all a lover's quarrel, that the boy was his 19-year-old lover and was just drunk. The police believed him. They returned the boy, vulnerable and drugged, into the hands of the very man who had abused him and who, hours later, would take his life. It was a catastrophic error, a failure of the system that cost an innocent life and allowed the nightmare to continue. The House of Cards collapsed on the night of July 22, 1991. It was Tracy Edwards this time who managed to escape. He got away from the apartment with one hand still cuffed and flagged down a police car. The officers who responded, suspicious, went to apartment 213. What they found inside would be forever etched in the collective memory. The smell was unbearable. There were Polaroid photographs of dismembered bodies. There was a freezer that held more than just frozen food. And in the middle of the room, a blue 57-gallon drum that contained 3 decomposing torsos. The facade of the ordinary man, the quiet neighbor, disintegrated in that instant.
revealing the true face of a serial killer who had taken 17 lives. Jeffrey Dahmer was arrested, tried, and sentenced to 15 life sentences. He never showed genuine remorse, only a clinical and frighteningly empty explanation for his acts. In 1994, his own life was taken by another inmate within the penitentiary. But the questions his case leaves behind are more persistent than any ghost. How can someone become this? What was missing in his upbringing that allowed the darkness to grow unchecked? And the most terrifying question of all, how many other Jeffrey Dahmers are out there, living their double lives with their unspeakable secrets locked behind ordinary doors? The story of Dahmer is a dark warning about the abysses that can exist in the human psyche, and about the danger of underestimating the monstrosity that can hide behind a shy smile. And what do you think? Did society fail to see the signs, or was Dahmer's capacity for evil simply impossible to detect? Leave your opinion in the comments. And if you have the courage to explore other cases that defy understanding, we have an entire playlist waiting for you.